Hi, welcome back. Well, guess what? The inserts for our rolling bypass doors have come in. If you recall, I really wanted to have frosted glass, but tempered frosted glass was just out of my price range. So I ordered a plastic or acrylic material that's supposed to look like frosted glass. I guess we'll see in just a minute. Now I'm opening this very carefully because I'm not sure how the packaging is done on the inside, and I sure want to make sure that I don't scratch the plastic. Looks like a lot of cardboard for the recycling bin. How much further do you think this goes? There's 10 feet of cardboard here. Here we go. Well, they are covered with a white plastic material to protect it. Brown on the back, white on one side. Let's take a look and just see what these look like. Oh yeah, that's gonna be just fine. That looks just like frosted glass. And I see here what they've done is they've put this white protective coating on the side that's kind of a matte finish, and the sort of glossy side is on the other side. Now I'm going to leave this on. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this. The next thing we want to do is get these prepped for installation in the doors. Okay, to prep these plastic panels for installation in the doors, what I want to do is I want to leave the protective coating on as long as possible, but I need to get the coating peeled back from the edges so the edges can go into the grooves. If the coating was still on when I put it in the grooves and glued up the doors, I might not be able to get all this protective coating off. So what I'm doing is I'm peeling this back about 1/2 inch. It's a little sticky, but try to get it down flat. And then taking painter's tape and making a straight line just about 1/4 inch back from the edge. That'll give us room to get this into the insert, and we'll be fully protected. That'll keep glue off. In fact, I can go all the way through the finishing stage this way and not worry about getting anything on this plastic. A little different than glass, because glass is a little bit easier to clean if you were to get some glue or finish on it. Plastic is not. This is going to take a couple of minutes, but it's sort of worth the trouble to do this. So, a little strip of masking tape, 1/4 inch back from the edge to make a straight line, and there we go. Now I'm going to do this all the way around on both sides of the plastic. This is what it looks like when it's all finished and ready to go. And then we'll be ready for our glue up. Okay, after prepping the edges of this acrylic, I'm doing a dry assembly just to make sure that the panels are exactly the right size, the grooves are the right depth, and that everything is going to go smoothly during the glue up. And this looks perfect. Now you'll notice that the cutouts, the holes for the hardware, are on this side of the door, and you'll also notice that I've positioned the acrylic so that the craft paper looking side of the protective film is facing this way. The white protective film is facing the front. The more I looked at this, the more I decided that the frosted looking side of the acrylic looked better on the show side, meaning the glossy side or shiny side of this acrylic will be on the back. Now, that could be completely wrong, or as my dad used to say, completely bass-ackwards, but that's the way I'm going to do it because that's the way I like the look. So, we're ready. Let's glue these things up. All right, I'm set up now for the glue up, and I'm going to use a brush. Be a little bit careful about putting the glue on these tenons. And I want to make sure, like on this tenon, that I get the haunched part of the tenon. And I don't really need to worry about the end, but I do want to get the sides. Right like that. And this little edge back here and this little edge right here. And then last but not least is I want to get a little bit right along the shoulder here so that we get a good joint. Once that's done, I want to stick this down in here, and be good if I put it in the right direction. Here we go. And get that seated. And then we'll quickly work to get these others put in. And when I say work quickly, be a little cautious with that, because sometimes when you're trying to work quickly on a glue up, that actually results in putting the glue on a little bit too thick, simply because you got in a hurry. And yeah, make sure I get this oriented right. A little bit of squeeze out there. And now we'll get this one. That should do it. And then I want to get the inserts put in. And after the inserts are in, then we can put a little glue up here. Just making sure now that I haven't starved any of these joints of glue just by going back and putting a touch more on. And we're ready to go. And we'll take our other style. We're going to make sure we've got our orientation right here. All right, now by assembling this face up, I'm able to see any squeeze out that will impact my finish. And I just take a damp paper towel and go ahead and get that off. Make sure everything is flat down to the clamps. And as long as you're assembling on a flat surface, you'll be okay. Now see, that one was not down all the way. I could feel a little give in there. Now it's down all the way. That feels much better. so we won't be out of square or out of plane. Let's just check this one more time. A 32nd less than 65. And a 32nd less than 65. Okay, we're square. All we need to do is let this set up. We can glue up the next one. In the meantime, let's start mixing up some finish. Okay, for these doors, I'm going to use a combination of my two favorite finishes. The first, or base coats, are going to be shellac. Now, the way I mix shellac, it's different for different projects, but what I used on the bathroom vanity was a mixture that consisted of 8 ounces of blonde flakes, 4 ounces of amber flakes, and 3 pints of alcohol. Now, I mixed my shellac in a mason jar, and this is really a fantastic way to mix. First of all, weigh out your shellac flakes on any kind of scale. A regular kitchen scale will work fine. Put those in the jar, and then you'll notice there's pint markings on the side of this jar. So you can simply fill up to the correct mark with alcohol, and you'll have the dilution that you're looking for. Now, I needed 3 pints, which is this line right here, so I've still got to add a little bit of alcohol, and I do that usually. I sneak up on the final measurement and let it dissolve, and then just add a little bit more alcohol to get the final dilution I'm looking for. Let's take a little closer look at these shellac flakes. If you've not used them before, you might find this interesting. These are our shellac flakes. This is the blonde on this side. This is the amber on this side. You can readily see the difference in the color. The blonde flakes are larger. I don't believe there's any real reason for that except for the fact that these came from different suppliers. It's the only thing I can really think of. There are some striations, if you look closely, in these flakes. That has to do with how the shellac dried before it was flaked and processed for shipment. Well, as you can see, shellac flakes are really pretty cool, and there's a whole bunch of different colors that you can get. You could mix up just straight blonde, and it would add virtually no color to your project. You could mix a blend like I did. You could mix up straight amber. If you really wanted to darken a piece of wood, you could get what's called garnet, which is a very dark shellac, and mix that with alcohol. There's really no reason to buy prepackaged, pre-made shellac when it's so easy to simply dissolve these flakes in denatured alcohol. And you want to make sure you get a good high quality denatured alcohol to use with your shellac mix. And again, I recommend using mason jars, and whatever is left, just close it up tight, put it in a cool, dark place, and it'll be good the next time you go to use it. And there we go. Okay, well, the finish is finished, and I'm happy with the way it turned out. I started with a single coat of shellac on all sides of the doors. And by the way, how many sides are there to a door? Well, I always get at least 1 or 2 people with that trick question. The actual answer is that there's 6 sides to a door. The front, the back, the bottom and the top, and the 2 side edges. All sides of a door need to be finished so that the finish can help stop or slow down the infiltration of humidity into the door and it will help with any potential for warpage that might exist. After my first coat of shellac, I noticed that even though shellac raises the grain, it was still pretty smooth, probably owing to the fact that I sanded up through 220 grit before I ever started applying a finish. Because of that, I was able to go ahead and put a second coat of shellac on without sanding between those two coats. That helped me build the color a little bit faster. Then by the third coat, I had the color I was looking for. And I was using this bare piece of maple from the same stock as a color comparator to get it to where I really wanted it to be. After the shellac third coat was applied, I sanded lightly with 400 grit, and that gave me that silky smooth finish that I was looking for. And then I went to my other favorite finish, which is General Finish's Armor Seal. This one happens to be satin. They make matte and gloss finishes in this. I love this satin. This is a rag-on, wipe-on, oil varnish blend. It offers great protection and beautiful clarity. It gives a lot of depth to the wood. Looks really nice. The only drawback to the product is that it takes a really long time to dry, overnight at least. So you want to make sure that your shop is really clean and dust free before you start putting that finish on, and avoid those little dust nibs that you can get. 2 coats of the Armor Seal on both sides, front and back, and around all of the edges completed this, and it's ready to install the hardware. But before we install the hardware, let's take a little closer look at this finish and how it really pops the grain. You can see here how the grain has popped out on the finished piece compared to my unfinished control piece. The combination of shellac and Armor Seal is a beautiful finish. One thing I can assure you is that I have very little interest in damaging the finish that I applied to these doors. And since I have to lay them face down to put the hardware in, I put down some of this rubber gripper material. It goes under throw rugs to keep them from slipping. You can get it anywhere. This happens to be a scrap, but it works really, really good to pad and protect a finished piece while you're working on it. Now the hardware installing this, as I mentioned in an earlier video, there are no instructions. So the only thing I can infer is that this is a pressure fit in the 35mm hole, and these little ridges are what ultimately hold it in place. But how to get it in there, I have no idea. So I tried just squeezing it in, and that didn't work. Turns out the only way I was able to really get these in is with a rubber mallet. And it's just a bit tedious because you've got to get it straight, lined up, get it started, and then pound it in the rest of the way. And with a little luck, you can do it without hitting your fingers. So let's try to get this in. Now I don't doubt for a minute that there is some special tool that inserts into these 2 holes that allows you to twist this and get it perfectly straight here at the bottom. But I don't have that tool, so I've just got to do the best I can. And once you get it started, depending on which side you bang on, you can kind of straighten up any little misalignment as you go. And when it's in, your holes are drilled to the correct depth, you will get an almost perfectly flush finish. Just like that. Now, this red with a slot in it is for a screwdriver, and turning this will adjust the projection of the entire roller assembly. So that's how that will be adjusted once it's installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the hardware installed, and then we're going to go see how it fits in the opening. Okay, just for grins, before we install this, let's go ahead and remove the protective backing from our insert. So here where we've got some good light, we can really see what this is going to look like. So far, so good. All right, this is the show side, and oh, I think that's going to be I think that's going to be really pretty. Okay, I'll take off the rest of the backing once I get these installed. Let's get ready to go upstairs. Well, before I start, I want to let you know this is not my studio camera gear. It was just too much to lug all that stuff upstairs. This is a field rig that I use sometimes, and you will notice a quality difference in both the video and the audio, and I'm sorry about that, but you'll still be able to see what's going on. As you can see, the doors are installed. They fit perfectly, and the installation was easy peasy. Now, as far as the fit, since they did fit so well, that confirms all the calculations that I put into the Excel spreadsheet with addendum instructions for installing the hardware. So I'm going to finish that up, load it up, and I will put a link in the description box in the video where you can download that spreadsheet at no charge. Well, it really turned out beautiful. It slides like a dream. It doesn't make a sound at all while it's sliding, and I think just came out perfect for this little linen cubby. Now I'm probably going to install some bumpers over here, some little thin, clear bumpers, just to keep this from bumping into the wood. But other than that, it's all done. Listen, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next Down to Earth woodworking project.